We're going to begin by closing down the eyes. Taking the hands, palms up on the knees. And begin with some lovely, rich breaths. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling for 2. Exhaling for 2. Inhaling for 3. Exhaling for 3. Inhaling for 4. Exhaling for 4. Inhaling for 5. Exhaling for 5. And keeping this elongated breath going. Taking a second to pop any little thoughts that we have, any to-do list things, and pause just the next 40 minutes. It will still be there. I'm just going to make a conscious effort at this time just to lower the shoulders. I think often we can sort of sit like this as a default. And in doing so, we're opening up the chest. Give yourself a nice smile. So thank you for coming to class today. This week coming is a new moon. So it's a really good time to start putting into practice any new routines or thought processes, or just any new ideas that we might have. Almost a reset, which we do need in this month so far, year so far. And at this point, maybe you'd like to dedicate the class to somebody or something. And just send up those positive vibes. Maybe to a loved one, or maybe just a family member or ourselves. Now we're going to join our hands together in prayer over the heart. Tucking in that chin just for a second, just to get a nice little stretch in the back of the neck. Lifting the gaze. We're going to begin the class with an arm together. Seeing as it's the morning, I'm going to inhale and exhale out any excess breath, and then inhale and arm together. Inhaling, exhaling through the mouth. Inhaling. Hands to the third eye. I'm going to send those palms up nice and tall, clasping the fingers in a fist or in Kali Mudra, pointing the two index fingers, standing them nice and tall as you can. Release the hands, flexing out each finger, moving the wrists nice and tall, big stretch. Make a fist, pump it, and release the hands, taking them down towards the back of the mat. Puffing out that chest, squeezing the shoulder blades together as we do so. We're going to lift up the gaze ever so slightly, not all the way up, just taking it to a spot on the wall. You can keep the eyes closed or have them open at this point. And we're going to bring the hands towards the front of the mat. And taking our gaze in, we're just going to round the spine. Almost like a seated cat-cow at this point. Ever so gently, ever so slowly, just rounding that spine. Leaving those hands in front, keeping those fingers activated. Feeling that mid-back stretch. Lovely. And from here, we're going to release any blocks or anything we might be sitting on. I'm going to come to our all fours position. Taking the hands directly underneath the shoulders, the knees directly underneath the hips. Giving ourselves a little shake. Flattening the feet. And on an inhale, we're going to send that back up towards the sky, rounding the spine in our cat, taking the chin to the chest, spreading the fingers nice and wide on the mat, and exhaling, lowering the belly, lifting up the hips, taking up the gaze into our cow. Might be a little bit of tightness in the hips, that's fine. We're just going to go from side to side, wiggly, wiggly. It's still early. Maybe go in like a little snake-like motion. It can be quite fun. And we're going to round that spine again into our cat. Maybe you want to send those hips back so we get a nice lower back stretch. Maybe you want to send the hips forward, shoulders forward, still doing our nice strong rounded back so we get a nice upper back stretch here. And sinking those hips back, we're going to flex the toes, so we're taking the toes onto the mat, bringing the knees in so we can send the weight onto the toes. A nice way to open up the Achilles and the toes here. Sending the hands out in front of us, we're just going to make fists, rounding one way, then the other. Lovely. Now while we're here, we're going to do some eagle arms, which I quite like to do. So we're going to wrap the right arms around it so you can see me actually. We're going to wrap the right arm underneath the left and take a palm together. So it almost becomes, there we go. And here in our eagle arms, which is quite nice while we're sitting here, we're going to send those arms away from us. So we're creating a rounding in the spine, a nice stretch. And we're going to send those hands up for a little bit of a deeper stretch. Or feel free to keep it here as long as it's comfortable. And reversing, taking the left hand underneath the right now. Sending those elbows and arms away from you, creating that lovely space between the shoulders. Taking the hands up. Still got our toes nice and flexed. Lovely. Releasing the hands, clasping them behind the back. Puffing out that chest, we're going to lean ourselves forward. Taking the head towards the floor. We're getting a nice deep stretch here. Releasing the toes, giving them a little tap on the mat. Taking the hands to the mat. And picking the gaze up. Flexing the toes again. And we're going to lift up on an inhale into our first down dog of the day. Taking an effort to walk the dog, giving it a nice stretch in the hamstrings here. Waking up the body. Maybe we want to go from side to side. Maybe we want to bend the knees and straighten them, come onto the toes, heels. Making sure that we're warming up those hands as well, so spreading out each finger, moving the weight from left to right. Lovely. And from here, I'm going to take the gaze forward. I'm going to round the body into our first plank of the day. Sending those heels back to keep us in a nice straight line. And we're going to bend the knees into our hovering knees position. It's a good way to warm up the core. And exhaling, sending the hips back into our down dog. Pedaling out. Taking the gaze again forward. And the body forward into our plank. And sending the hips down, knees down into our hovering knees position. Exhaling, coming into our down dog. Have I lost you? Oh no, your camera's still there. Okay. In our down dog, we're going to send down the knees, get them nice and wide on the mat, flattening the toes, coming into our first child's pose. Stretching out the hands, taking the forehead towards the mat, sending the knees nice and wide. The bum is towards the feet. I'm going to make a conscious effort here to keep those hands nice and active, stretching out each finger on the mat. And on an inhale, we're going to bring the hands towards the right side of the mat, the right corner. We're still in our child's pose. We're going to send those hands towards the right side of the mat. A nice corner so we can get a nice deep side stretch. Lovely. And inhaling over towards the left side, getting a nice side stretch here. And on an inhale, bringing our hands towards the body, tucking the toes, coming onto our flat feet. We're going to come into our forward fold. First one of the day, so we're going to bring the hands onto the nape of the neck, back of the head, bring the body towards the knees, Letting gravity do the work for us. Tucking that chin in once again. We can almost feel it in the sort of everywhere in the back, especially the lower back. The lower back is something that we tend to neglect when we're sitting at a desk. So maybe we bring the hands onto the floor. Maybe we want to bring the hands onto the back of the shins, on the calves. Making sure that that head is not active, it's just floppy. It's flopping towards the ground. Maybe we want to go from side to side. Lovely. Hanging the hands. Okay, taking the hands nice and active now. Each finger, we're going to run the hands along the body, almost activating the limbs as we roll up. All the way, taking the hands towards the ceiling. We're going to suck in the belly, the tailbone, the leg muscles, the kneecaps, the glutes. Nice and tall, taking pistol fingers here. Maybe we want to come up onto our toes so we can get a nice front of the foot stretch as well. Lowering the heels. Bending the arms nice and wide behind us, cactus arms. Lovely. And bringing them in a clasp together. Maybe this time we go the opposite way as we did in the front of the class, and we're just going to open up that chest area. Still activating each leg. Still activating the glutes, the belly. And bending the knees now. We're going to send the hands over the head into a lovely deep stretch. See if you can to keep the palms of the hands nice together. The heels of the wrist, as they're often called. Knees together. And releasing the hands, we're going to walk to the front of the mat. And in honor of the moon, we're going to do some nice moon salutations here. So, hands onto the hips this time. We're going to take the gaze and we're going to let the gaze guide us up from the hips into our lovely standing position. Taking the hands over the head in Kali Mudra. Pistol fingers once again. On an inhale, we're going to roll over towards the right side, keeping the lower half of the body where it is, just bending that right side. And exhaling back to center. Inhaling over to the left side now. Getting that nice side stretch. And back to center. Taking the hands nice and wide, cactusing them up. We're going to take that left foot and we're going to step back. One big step. The feet are facing each corner of the mat. So they're almost like pigeon toeing out or penguining out. I can never remember which one is the right phrase. And the hands are drawn in. The elbows are towards the body. And making sure that we're taking the knees over the feet, so we're not bending them in, we're not bending them out. We're going to tuck in the pelvic floor muscles and we're going to lower the body into a nice deep stretch. And inhale. And exhaling back up, straightening the legs. Inhaling here. And exhaling. Straightening ourselves back up. Inhaling, lowering down, getting a nice deep stretch. Maybe we'll go a little bit deeper than before. And exhaling back up. And we're going to take the feet, point them towards the back of the mat now. Making sure that they're on train tracks. into our pyramid position, so clasping the hands behind ourselves, rolling forward into our pyramid pose. Lovely. And from here, taking the feet so that one foot is facing towards the long end of the mat, one foot is facing towards the back, coming into our side lunge here. Hands in prayer, onto the tiptoes, nice and strong in our lunge. And letting the hands guide us towards a lovely stretch on the left side now in our moon salutations. I'm wobbling all over the place. Lovely. And from here, using the hands to guide us up, this time we're in our pyramid. On the other side, hands are clasped together, straightening the legs, sending the hands over the head and therefore the body towards the thigh. Maybe bringing the hands in, the feet in towards each other so we can get a nice deep stretch without wobbling like I'm doing. And straightening up into our goddess again. Taking the feet to each diagonal corner of the mat, we're going to take the hands in Jenerally mudra. And we're going to dip low. Dip low. We're going to pulse here with the Mula Bandha nice and activated, pulsing, waking up those hips, keeping the hands, keeping the body in one line. We're going to tuck in that tailbone, Tan, if you can. Yeah, there we go. That's good. Nice and strong in the back. I like to imagine someone's got two panes of glass in the front and back of me, so I can't pop out my booty like I want to. Lovely. Straightening up the legs. I'm going to bring that left foot back towards the front of the mat. Into our Kali Mudra, hands nice and tall, nice and long body. We're going to exhale over towards the left side of the body, over to the left side, getting a nice stretch all across the right side. Inhaling back to center, exhaling over towards the right now. Inhaling back to center, taking the hands, Jenerally mudra, prayer over the heart. I'm going to flip it over this way so we can do the other side. Tucking in the chin. Maybe taking a little neck roll from side to side. And sending the hands back up into Kali Mudra. Nice and tall, nice and long. Maybe we come up onto our tiptoes again like we did in the beginning, just to get a nice stretch. Maybe we come up onto the heels, see if we can lift up the toes and just balance on our heels. Lovely. Inhaling over towards the left side of the body this time, or the left side of the mat, I should say. And exhaling back to center. Inhaling over towards the right side. Lovely. Taking that right foot and taking one big step back into our goddess pose. Hands at this point nice and long. Stretching either side like a warrior two. And activating the pelvic floor muscles. Tucking in that tailbone. Going to lower the knees. Lovely. Taking the hands onto the hips. Taking a second just to Create space between the shoulders and the ears by lowering them really low. And with purpose, straightening the legs nice and strong. I realize I completely missed out an entire part of this asana. So, taking the hips towards the right side of the room, right side of the body. And we're going to extend those hands nice and long, and open up into a Trikonasana. Lovely. It happens, it's early. Setting that hand nice and tall, stacking the shoulders, maybe taking the gaze towards the ceiling or the floor, taking the hand onto the ankle, the shin, the floor, whatever we need to do. Bring those hands back up and pressing those toes, bringing them towards the back of the mat, shortening the gaze, coming into our pyramid pose, so clasping the hands behind the back, folding down over that right leg, bringing the belly onto the thighs if we can. It's a nice stretch here. Lovely. And rounding ourselves back round again, taking the feet towards the side edge of the mat. We're going to come into our side lunge, taking the hands in Anjali Mudra, bending the knees, flexing up that right foot towards the sky. Letting the hands guide us over towards a side lunge on the left side, or with the left foot, I should say. Lovely. And taking the hands towards the mat, getting ourselves into a pyramid on the left side, flopping the hands over or clasping them together, straightening the legs, flopping the hands over the body, trying to get those two heels of the hands as close together as you can. I'm saying this and I can't even do that because my shoulders are pretty tight. I don't know about yours. Lovely. Taking the gaze up, moving the feet into our diagonal pose again. Hands out either side. And we're gonna take that hip, pop it towards the left side. Bring those hands all the way over. And we're milling them down towards the ankle. The left hand is up in the air. It's nice and stacked, one straight line. Lovely. And bringing those hands back up again, coming into our goddess pose. Opening those knees, opening those hips. Lovely. Bending them down, tucking in that tailbone, that looks great. Making sure that we're bending the knees over the feet, so we're not bringing them in, bringing them out. Lovely. Pulsing here. Inhaling nice and long. Activating those pelvic floor muscles. Lovely. And circling the wrists maybe. A nice circle of the wrist is always good. And the other way. Hands over the head into Kali Mudra. Nice and tall in the upper body. And straightening the legs, releasing the pelvic floor muscles. We're going to bring that right foot, bringing it towards the front of the mat again. And exhaling over towards the right side this time. Staying a nice stretch. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling over towards the left side. Lovely. Inhaling back to center, releasing the hands in Jenerally mudra, taking them down the midline of the body and folding forward into a lovely forward fold position. Taking the hands, getting the first two fingers and the thumb, binding the toes. I'm going to do it so you can see me. Maybe taking the elbows out to the side, all in the effort of bringing the chest onto the thighs. Lovely. And maybe practicing a halfway lift at this point, so just taking that upper body nice and long, gaze is up. We're still binding the feet. We're just coming up into a lovely halfway pose. And releasing back down again, but taking the whole hand this time underneath the feet, toes onto the wrists. And we can really feel that along the whole back of the leg. Lovely. Lovely. And from here, releasing the hands, coming into our yogi squat. So we're going to take the feet diagonally out towards the side, taking the body down towards the mat. Hands in Jenerally mudra, opening up those hips. Nice and long. Lovely. Nice. Deep stretch here in the hips. You may have noticed that I've taken a lot of effort to open up the hips this morning, and that's because we hold a lot of tension and emotion in our hips, so it can be really good to release that before starting anything new. And we're just going to heel toe the feet out to widen our stance on the mat, folding forward into an open-legged forward fold. Taking the hands, the legs are nice and straight. Taking the hands maybe onto the mat, head towards the mat, almost like we want to try and get that crown onto the floor, even if we can't. The thought is there, the goal is there. Lovely. And taking the hands over to the left foot this time, we're going to grab onto that left foot, binding the toe. And we're going to take that elbow towards the shin and just bind the hand behind us, taking the body towards the ceiling, making sure that both legs are nice and straight. Binding the right hand on the back of the body, touching that thigh on the left leg. Lovely. Releasing the hands, bringing them back to center. We're going to place the right hand on the mat and open up with the left, getting a lovely twist here. Taking the gaze up towards the ceiling if we can. Replacing that right hand with the left, we're going to go over to the left side. So we're going to take that right hand up towards the ceiling, stacking those shoulders. So we're not folding in, we're nice and active here. Keeping the feet and legs where they are. Bringing that hand back down again. Walking the hands over towards the right foot this time, binding the big toe with the right hand, taking the left hand around the body so we can touch the right thigh, taking the gaze up, really active, binded twist here. Lovely. And hands back onto the mat. And what are we going to do? What should we do now?
We're going to heel toe the feet back in towards each other. And we're going to come down into a seated position. Leaving those legs nice and open. It's a good way to be. Picking those hands nice and tall, nice and long. We're going to hinge at the hips and roll ourselves forward. I say roll, I mean bend. We don't want to be rolling the back at all. Once we feel like the back is about to round, we're going to stop it there, take the hands onto the mat, keeping those toes nice and active. So we've got a lovely straight back. We've got lovely active legs. And we're just working into that lower back. Lovely. Walking the hands back up. Bringing the feet together into our Dandasana, shifting any flesh away from the bones of the body, sitting nice and tall. We're going to take the right leg over the left. So the right foot is just next to the knee. We're going to take the left arm. And we're going to either hold on to the thigh, hold on to the knee, or we're going to take a nice bend in the elbow and just tuck it against each other as we open up towards the right body, the right side. Right hand is behind us. I fully realize that I'm facing the wrong way. Into a lovely twist here. And taking now the left leg over the right, bring that left hand behind you, sitting nice and tall, and either holding on to the leg or bending at the elbow and just tucking the two together into a twist on the left side now. Feeling that stretch in your shoulders and your hips. Lovely. And coming down, making sure there's enough room to lay down. We're going to roll the body down. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to hold on to the back of the thighs. We're going to do a nice little bit of Namaste. Flexing those toes, keeping them up. This will help. And on an exhale, we're going to lower the body almost towards the mat, straighten the legs, straighten the top body, and we're going to bring it in together. Taking the hands either side of the body this time, if we can. We're going to straighten out the legs, come into a hollow rock, so we're almost on the ground, and we're not really into our Navasana. Maybe giving the legs a nice squeeze into the body, binding the hands, tucking in the head into our cosmic egg. And rolling onto the back. So the knees are on the chest now. We're just going to give a lower back a little massage with the floor by rolling side to side. Lovely. Taking the knees high, feet on the floor. We're going to get that left foot and we're going to balance it over the right knee into a nice figure four position with the foot. Opening up that hip even further, we're going to thread the hands through that little triangle you've created. So we're touching the back of the knee once again. And getting that nice back of the hip stretch, rolling from side to side, just giving that lower back a nice massage. Lovely. Sending the feet onto the ceiling into really active, almost like a laying down Dandasana. Straightening, tucking in those muscles. We're going to bend the knees again. Taking the left knee Sorry, the left foot on the floor, the right leg goes across the left leg, opening up that hip into a figure four position with the feet. Putting the right hand through that triangle, left hand meeting behind the left thigh, taking them both onto the chest, giving ourselves a little massage side to side. Maybe we go up and down this time, just to switch it up. Lovely. And uncurling the feet, we're going to tuck the head in, tuck the chest in, the knees in the chest, squeezing ourselves, making fists with the feet, making fists with the hands. And releasing towards the mat. And we're going to curl those feet in once again, curl the hands, tuck in the glutes, curl in any arm muscles, tucking in those glutes, thighs, kneecaps, nice and strong, squeezing in, squeezing, face is like a little lemon. And releasing towards the mat. Obviously, we don't have time for a long Shavasana this morning, but if you'd like to, you can extend it further, or if you have time, taking a little meditation break over your lunch break, if such a thing exists anymore. Just remembering in times of stress, just elongate the breath. It's so beneficial. Taking the hands up to the third eye. Thanking each other. Coming up to a seated position with our hands on our third eye. The light in me sees the light in you. The strength in me honors the strength in you. Namaste. Thank you.